Hi, everyone. Welcome to Radiant Living, Inspiring Humanity to Thrive. I'm Marisa B. And today I'm so thrilled to have with me Teréz Elisabeth Autrand. She is the owner of Water Tiger Feng Shui. And Teréz blends the traditional ancient art of Feng Shui with a complete holistic wellness attitude with life coaching and another group of alternative wellness practices. And hello, Teréz. So thrilled to have you here.
Hi, Marissa. Thank you for having me.
You're quite welcome. Can you tell the audience today, first of all, how did you get involved with Feng Shui?
A lot of pieces to that journey, but a few main points. You know, when I was a little girl, I had these memories of being in the car with my mother and driving through neighborhoods, and I would just look at the exteriors of homes, and I was so curious about what they looked like on the inside and were the people that were living there. And I just had like this captivation with homes. My mother had lots of friends who had, you know, really nice, beautiful homes. And so from a really early age, I was in these really high vibrational places. As I got older and started to rent my own apartments and homes, friends and family would come over and they would always comment how lovely I had decorated it and how good it felt in there. And I really took notice of that. And then, you know, fast forward to 2018, I was living in this beautiful studio, and I had always had books on Feng Shui in my library, but I really wanted to take it a little bit more seriously and go in depth. So I took this course, my first course, and I just manifested all these wonderful things. Like I made more money than I had ever made before up to that point. I manifested 2 out of the country trips, one of which I got paid for. And I also called in my twin flame that I met the following year. And I had been single for about 11 years. So that was really a big deal.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's amazing. And can you tell me a little bit about Feng Shui itself? I love the idea that, of course, it's an ancient system. And then, of course, you have this whole holistic view on it, which is just all encompassing. So can you first explain a little bit about Feng Shui?
Yeah, so it's at least 5,000 years old. It dates back at least that far. And there are many branches. You know, there's form Feng Shui, which has a lot to do with just the geographics of the land that you're living on. And then there's traditional classical Feng Shui, flying stars, which is one of the branches that that I practice. It's also been westernized. Also, it's also been sort of new aged. But I do a certain. Well, I do a couple of different branches. I play with all of them, but I mostly do what we call intentional, and I also do something called flying stars.
And can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. So flying stars, what I really like about it is it goes on the premise that every space has its own unique energetic blueprint. So it's not like a one size fits all. And we take into account, you know, things like the square footage and exact compass directions, and also like the construction year. So you actually make a chart for the space, and that informs you how to use the elements, which we have fire, earth, metal, water, and wood, and where to put those, and, you know, in what area of the home and in what direction.
Because I'm assuming that sometimes if too much of one is in an area, that can cause upset, or when you walk into a place and you say something doesn't feel right, you're either tired or dizzy, or you feel an oppression on you, or you can't catch your breath. I'm assuming that that's what possibly is going on. Right.
Yes, oftentimes it's really interesting because, of course, when I work with a client, I'm, they start with filling out a questionnaire that asks them various questions, and then just from reading their answers from those questions, I can kind of guess what might be going on in the home. And when I do the chart, sure enough, there it is. It really blows my mind.
Now, do colors come into play as well?
Colors do come into play with the different elements. There are certain colors that are like for water, it's blues and black. Fire colors would be like red, orange, burgundy, some shades of purple that have a lot of red in them. Metal colors are more like, the obvious being like gray, silver, gold, white, but then also pastels and so on and so forth.
And I'm assuming that has to be balanced out too. I mean, you're the expert, so you're going into the space and you're, as you said, I mean, you're actually grafting it out. You're having a blueprint of it, and I'm sure you're dealing with colors and placement of colors as well. I know that there's a lot of misconceptions about Feng Shui, correct? Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I know the audience would like to know. I'm sure some of them have actually heard these things, and I'd like it to be explained. Where did these misconceptions come from? And I don't want anybody to be frightened about it, because I personally find it's a wonderful way to have your home.
Yes. One of the things I hear is that it's a religion, or that it's going to conflict with your religion. But I can assure you that Feng Shui is not affiliated with any religion. It's actually about being in harmony with nature on this planet Earth. So it really doesn't have anything to do with your religious beliefs. The other thing that I hear a ton of, and I think a lot of people really think this, is that it's about redecorating. And although there are design components to Feng Shui, absolutely, it's really more of an energetic art.
And now you say art. I'd like to ask you about artwork, because I know that that's something also. I mean, being a therapist, and I do use the creative arts, the expressive arts, and I know that, of course, art is visceral and often makes a statement and evokes emotion. That has a big part in a home, correct? I mean, I would think that really has to really be balanced out.
Yeah, because whether you realize it or not, the art that you have in your home is influencing you on a subconscious level. Even if you're not really consciously looking at that piece of art like 24/7, it's affecting you. And it's really especially important, like where you might be entering through the front door and it's just kind of there that, that you're seeing in your peripheral vision all the time. Or like in your bedroom, and it's the last thing you see before you go to bed at night, or the first thing you see when you wake up in the morning. I mean, I've gone into homes where, there'll be like these like desert scapes and everything just looks, really dry and dead, or like abandoned buildings. And, I can understand that sometimes people choose things because they like the colors, but all that is affecting you on a subconscious level. So you really want to choose art that's inspiring and, makes you want to get up in the morning, right? Makes you happy. So, or just like even calling in what you're trying to call in, right?
Yes. So, and I'm assuming that even though people don't know it, they do often make a lot of mistakes when they're putting their home together. I'm sure that when you walk in, you can see that there are mistakes that they've made, probably unconsciously, because they're just placing things. Well, some are placing things because they think that that's where they like it. Others are just placing them random.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. The whole thing about it too is like you're wanting to invite the chi into the home, and you're wanting it to, to travel, to move, to keep like life in the home, right? So yeah, so it's really the placement of furnishings does have, it definitely has some importance, because you want that chi to flow. Even like the front door, front doors are definitely auspicious, and you want to keep them really clean on the on the outside as well as on the inside. because you're wanting to invite the chi into the home
Mm-hmm.
and circulate.
Now, I've gone places. I recently was helping a friend move. She was going to share a space, and the space was limited. And so we were moving things around. And the owner of the home that she was going to share with started to yell, "Don't put the bed there. Don't put the bed there," because it was near a mirror. And I said to her, there must be some way to combat that. If that's the only place that the mirror has to be, there must be something that could be done. Have you found clients like that where they're insisting that something has to be where it's not supposed to be, or vice versa, or they want something removed where you're telling them that it has to be?
Oh yeah, all the time. That's part of why I combine coaching with my Feng Shui packages,
Mm-hmm.
because their resistance will come up. Yeah. With where they want things, or like, why are we putting this in there? And, it's really funny how that all works out. But definitely with the mirrors, I just want to add that really don't want to have the whole premise behind having a mirror near the bed. A mirror near the bed is fine as long as like you can't see your reflection in the mirror from where you usually sit or lay. But it's like the idea is that like you'll in the middle of the night you'll see yourself and it'll scare you, or like that. Yeah.
Right. So it's the placement, right? The mirror, as long as you're not seeing yourself reflected directly, the placement can be off center.
Yes.
Yeah. And I wanted to know, because you mentioned that with the coaching, because it is a form of coaching, you're walking into someone's home, and even though they're inviting you in, they've called you, they want a tranquil environment, they want to manifest a better life, they want to manifest happiness and joy, and here you go in, but there is a much resistance often, because you're maybe changing things around a bit. Like you said, it's not redecorating, not necessarily redecorating. I mean, you can bring pieces in, correct? But mostly you're using what's already there in the home.
Yeah. And, sometimes you're wanting to get rid of things, right?
Yes.
Like you don't want to have like, two big swords hanging on the wall or something like that.
Yes.
So sometimes there is a removal of things, and, sometimes we add things in too. But yeah, people do have their resistances. A lot of the remedies that, a lot of times they can be done like, so no one is even seeing these things. They're like tucked away. Things don't have to be like out in the open necessarily, like if you're not liking the way that something looks.
No. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So now tell me about a little bit about how this works with businesses as well, correct? I mean, this is not just homes.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that there are businesses that call you in because they want a better flow in their environment, the work environment.
Yeah. Some of the, I know like Apple, Nike, Coca-Cola are all Fortune 500 businesses that use Feng Shui for their offices and headquarters. And, where you're wanting a home to be more yin, you're wanting a business to be more yang, right? Because you're wanting to grab attention for success and profitability. So, and then sometimes when you have like where there's like an open floor plan, as sometimes that happens in business spaces, and you can insert the areas wherever you want, it's just so great. Because like, for instance, like a retail business, you would want to put the cash register where the money and prosperity area is. Or if there's a human resources department, that would go, in the love and relationships of the business. So really great for businesses. Yes.
Yeah, see, you learn something new every day. I didn't realize it does make sense, though, that you would want business to be the yang part, because it's different than in the home. And does it matter the size of the space or the amount of rooms?
No, it doesn't really matter. Are you talking about in a business? Like,
Well, a business, it would probably be the size of room, but even still, no, even in the homes, like the amount of rooms or the.
No, you can even, like, if you're renting a room in someone's house,
Mhm.
you can just feng shui your room.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And then in a home, you do it per room. You're doing it per room in a home. You're
well,
actually.
there's areas. So there's 9
Mhm.
areas that you're dividing the home up into. And sometimes there's missing areas, but then there's ways to remedy that also.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but I wouldn't say that a place is too small, because I've definitely seen, where people have, I just did a tiny home recently. So yeah,
Right.
space is
So, right.
definitely,
Tiny homes and large space, large space. I mean, a large corporation with multi floors, I'm assuming, is still can be done.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You want to do every floor. And actually, when you remedy it with the flying stars remedies, you would have to remedy each floor the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which is just using the elements.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just using the elements.
Now, let me ask you, what do you do about, for example, I've heard about water. And I can only tell you from personal that I live near water. It's not on my property, but it's near me. And so when I heard this, and because I am I am fascinated with feng shui, and I wanted my home to reflect that type of environment, and I was trying to get things placed in a certain way. I ran outside right away to check the flow of the water. Which way is the water going? Is it going to my home, away from my home? Because I had heard that that's something very important. But how far is that, for example? I mean, this water is, it's not on my property, it's relatively close, but not everybody lives near water. Is that just when the water is near them? Or is it that it has to be on their property?
No, I mean, if you're living near the ocean, that's great, because it's such a massive body of water. So it
Mm-hmm.
kind of depends on the size
Mm-hmm.
of whether it's, just like a little, like a babbling brook, or like a huge ocean and everything in between. So it kind of depends, like, how close your property is.
Mm-hmm.
Water is very auspicious. Usually near water, you have nicer homes. You probably
Mm-hmm.
know
Oh, of course. Yes.
there's more affluence, right? But you do want the water coming towards you. That would be the most benefic.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you wouldn't want it, like, if it was like rushing water, that would be just like a little bit too intense. That would be too
Mm-hmm.
yak. So
Mm-hmm.
then you'd want it more going by you. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yes. No, absolutely. Because I recall I was racing outside telling my husband, which way is that water flowing? Which way is that water flowing? He thought I was insane, but I knew that, as you said, that if it was rushing quickly, I don't want it coming towards me. And of course, it's not on my property, so I don't have any really say so in how to change it, how to redirect it. But I just wanted to make sure. It turned out that it was going the correct way. It just happened that way. It was auspicious that it happened that way. But I
love it.
well, I don't know what I would have done if it didn't go that way. I know that, yeah, I know there's also another thing, like about the mirror with the hearth and facing by your stove. And that was another thing that I had an issue with, because they say that you should have a mirror, like in front of your,
the stove,
right behind the stove, or right
so,
behind or in front of you, in front of, like,
well, like on the backsplash,
yes.
Because what they say is, like, the stove is where, that's like it's like a symbol of abundance, because that's where you're cooking all the food for the family. So yeah, so that is definitely like a great, on that premise, a great place to put it. You don't want it between your, or directly across from your sink. You see that a lot in homes, but you can remedy that with a green, like a kitchen mat on the floor, because then it makes the productive cycle where, the water is feeding the plant, which is feeding the fire, or water feeding wood, which is feeding fire. So there's like a production direction. So then that makes it okay. But otherwise, the water from the sink is putting the fire out. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. And it's funny because I believe everybody should be hiring a feng shui expert, because I didn't have a backsplash where I had to put my cooktop. And so I was frantic. Oh my gosh, where do I put this mirror? Where do I put this mirror? Because, sometimes a little bit of knowledge is dangerous. And it says like, I can't suspend it from the ceiling. Where am I going to put this? This mirror. But I really think that you really need like an expert to come in and assess the whole situation, because really it's dependent on what you already have in your home, correct? And what you need to bring into your home, because ultimately it's to live a more peaceful, tranquil, abundant life, really. Ultimately that's the whole premise behind Feng Shui.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah,
And
sometimes having those little bits of knowledge, it's almost like when you think you might be sick and you Google the symptoms and then like you have cancer now. It's like, right? So
and I have a tendency of doing that, Googling everything and checking. Can you tell me a little bit about the manifesting? That I find fascinating. How does that work along with the Feng Shui? How does that all go hand in hand?
Yeah. So in my experience with myself and with the clients that I've worked with, as I said before, I do mostly two branches of Feng Shui. One is intentional and one is flying stars. And with the intentional, sometimes it takes a few months, maybe a year or more, as in my case, when I was telling you about everything that I manifested with that first course. But with the flying stars, I've literally seen things manifest like immediately. I was working with a woman who had a salon, and she kind of needed to rent a station because, to help her pay the rent there. And she was just having the hardest time. She had put ads in and no one was answering. And as it turned out, there was something going on with the property. It was something we call reversed, which can affect your money, or it can affect your relationships or people. And so it was affecting her people. So literally, as she's putting the remedy that I suggested to her in the front of the building, a girl walks up and asks if there's a chair available.
Oh, wow.
It's like that. There was another a gentleman that I worked with during the pandemic who owned a construction company, and he's having a really hard time getting subcontractors to do work that he needed to get done. And I can't remember what was going on with his home, something where he needed, it was the same sort of thing. It was like either a people lock, or it was like a reversed, and it was affecting the people in his life. And he put the remedy in place, and like the next day, he got 2 answers on his Craigslist ad for
so
workers.
You can manifest relatively quickly.
Pretty quick.
Once you implement the tools of Feng Shui.
Yeah. I've seen it. I've seen it for myself, and I've seen it for my clients. It's pretty crazy.
And now, what would be, for example, I know you're very busy. You have a lot of clients. And first of all, how would people get a hold of you personally if they wanted to hire you? And I'm assuming you do things online because I know you have to go to places, but I'm sure you can start online.
Yeah, I can do everything online, honestly. Yeah, it is. We can do it virtually. You don't have to live in the same town that I do. They can find me on Facebook, Teréz Elisabeth Autrand, same name on Instagram. And
I will put all that in the notes. I will have all that so people can get a hold of you with your information. I will definitely put that out there because I know people are going to ask. And I'm wondering, like, if there's one thing that you could tell a person that they can start, like they could start their way to living more within the Feng Shui system. What would that be, do you think?
Yeah, the first thing across the board for like everybody, even the neatest person in the world, address your clutter. Get organized. Things hanging around in boxes, it's just, it relates to stagnant energy. And it just like, it keeps the chi from moving. And that's part of the reason that I do the coaching along with my packages, is because people need a lot of coaching when it comes to going through their items and getting rid of stuff. right?
That's,
Like,
I was going to ask, that was the next question. What do you do if it's not unorganized? It's just too much. What do you do then? Because I'm assuming too much is an issue too.
well, I mean, you should really only keep things that you need, that you use, and that you love. Like everything else really should go.
You don't want to come here then.
Well,
There's just way too much. And I'm thinking that that's, even though it's in its place and organized, I think it's too much. And that's,
yeah, it's hard to let go of things. I totally get it. I totally get it. And it's a process, and it's a lifelong process. I mean, think about it. Like every time you bring something into your home, you kind of need to let go of something else, right? So it's always ongoing. And of course, the job's huge in the beginning, but it does get easier with time. Yeah. And if you can just think of it in terms of like you're making space for what you want to bring in, I think it makes it much more easy and fun that way, right?
I mean, I admire these people that say, if I bring in one, I get rid of two. I don't bring anything in because I haven't brought anything in for a long time because there's just no need to. Yeah. And now I'm actually looking at how do I gift now much of my stuff.
Yeah.
Because I need to gift a lot of the things. And I love Feng Shui. I'm a proponent of Feng Shui. I definitely have used it in my home, but I think I need to do it more. I think I need to do it better. Well, or have an expert do it better. Because I think that, well, your home, first of all, your home has to be peaceful for you to be in it, because who wants to live in a home, correct, that's filled with chaos?
Absolutely. I don't know how anyone can do it, honestly. I think really, our homes are like little microcosms of everything that's going on in our world.
Right. It's like almost like our fortress too. I mean, when we come in to our home, we want it to be our sanctuary. We don't want it to be just as chaotic as, the world that you may find out there. And yet I'm certain that a lot of people need a lot of Feng Shui in their life. Yeah, I mean, oh, sure, of course, and I'm sure you're very busy, and I know that you have a lot of clients. And how much time does it take? Does it depend on, with a client? Does it depend on the space they have, or how does that work as far as timing with a client?
Yeah, it really just depends. It's pretty different with each client and with each home, for sure. If someone's just wanting to get like a straight Feng Shui package without the coaching, usually like within a couple of weeks, definitely. And they don't have too much that needs to be done. Like I give homework, right? I mean, just because I do the chart doesn't mean it's done. Like once I do that, then they have action steps to take.
Oh, of course. Yes.
But like on my end, usually within a couple of weeks, I can get everything that they need to them. My Feng Shui packages, though, they go like 3 and 6 months. And that's where we're really dialing down and working on like what it is that you're wanting to manifest and bring into your life. So, yeah. So that's just a longer process.
Now, because people have to do their homework and, you have to do the work yourself. We know this in the holistic field. Are there stories that are not successful that you need to help further along in your coaching and Feng Shui?
So the people that haven't been successful aren't doing their homework. They have a lot of resistance, and that's why I did start making the coaching packages with it, because people just have their resistance and they think that like I'm going to wave a magic wand and it's going to happen for them. But they need to, do their work with a certain amount of devotion, Yeah. I mean, how much do they want what they want? Yeah. But, once you do the,
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You go right ahead.
I was just going to say, once you do put everything in its place, like you can feel the difference. You can feel it. Yeah.
What I wanted to ask was, do most of your clients have to get rid of a lot of things? How are you finding that?
I'm finding that people are really resistant to clearing the clutter. So that's another great reason to get
But
the
do they
support.
have it? Do you find that most people do? Not
Oh
only
yeah,
that there is it, but they do have it. So we're
yeah,
all we're all in the
yeah. And I
same
mean,
boat.
I have it to a degree. You know, it's always like I'm always having to work on it. It's a never ending thing. I mean, but it's just like, how big is it? Like, is it boxes and boxes you have in the garage, or you know, do you have everything pretty scaled down in this at this point and just need to kind of go
It's
through?
so terrible. I'm going to confess, I just have my husband build more buildings. Isn't that terrible? I'm saying this now for the world to hear. I just have him build more buildings. It's
just
really
get it out of the house.
it's terrible. It's terrible. I mean,
Are you
how many
a
pieces
sentimental
of
person?
how many pieces of red glass do you have to have in one section? And now, because that's maybe the South, you're now offsetting it with blue glass.
Are you a really
That's
sentimental person?
no, well, no, the pieces that are sentimental, from family, maybe inheritance, they're fine. It's the other things that have come upon me. But I'm happy to hear that a lot of people have that issue
Across the board.
But I look around and I know there's just too much. How, even though it's all in its place, it's just too much. And I always think, how can I better Feng Shui everything?
Yeah. The minimalist attitude. It's not for everybody.
No, but definitely it's needed in the home to have that calm and that peaceful environment.
Yeah, because that's also kind of taking up space in your head, right? Whether you're consciously looking at it, you're kind of seeing it in your peripheral vision, and it is messing with you on a subconscious level. I believe, you know it, or you wouldn't even say it, right?
Right. Oh no, absolutely. I mean, and as a therapist, I know better than anybody, that really, it's the time, and it's funny because I look at tiny homes and could I live in that, and then I have a husband who says, you need a wagon train of tiny homes to follow you around. So I know, and I know that I'm not the only one, but I know that I'm trying to make that more calm. And so I'm looking at pieces to say what can go and what's important for Feng Shui. That's why I do believe that people need an expert to come in and to assess the whole situation, to make that whole floor plan. And it doesn't matter, you could have a large house, a small house, but I think that that's absolutely needed. That's why I was so thrilled that you were coming on today, because I find that it's so important, because I do feel that this is our sanctuary. This is almost our castle and our fortress, and we need to have it calm, and we need to have abundance in it, and joy, and especially in light of what's going on the planet.
Yeah, it's like our foundation, right?
Yes, really. Absolutely. And is the Feng Shui different for age groups, or is it always the same? Is Feng Shui, it's always the same no matter how, like if you went to a home where there are kids' rooms, and is it always the same?
It's the same. The only thing that would be different, like in a family setting, we have something called trigrams that are based on your birth date. And those tell us the element that we are, the colors that work best for us, and then also our best directions for different things like work or eating or sleeping. So in the family dynamic, that is a little different. Just the trigram part would be, but otherwise I would say no to that.
But it's interesting because it really is very much also per individual. It's not just the household, it's per individual.
No two jobs that are even remotely alike. Like everything is so different because the homes are so different, and then the people are just so different. So
well, especially if you're doing their birth dates and things like that, that's quite in depth. That's a lot of work. That's a quite honing in on that individual person that's in that household, and then all those other people in the household.
Yeah.
how does that work in
Getting
a
all the
business?
beds in the right
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah. How does it work in a business? How does that work in a business?
Well, so in a business, so if people are sitting at desks, they have their best direction for productivity or just like overall, overall satisfaction. And, of course you want to get people, well, not only in their best directions for the productivity, but just for their happiness, right? You don't want a high turnover. You don't want to always constantly have to be training new people. And so there's definitely things you can do that create more teamwork within the business so that people like and enjoy living or working in that business.
Right. And I guess, and do you use their birthdays as well in a business environment also?
Yes. Just to get, for their directions, like if they're sitting at a desk or like in a salon situation, someone like where they have a station, want them facing in the best direction for them. Yeah.
And I'm assuming a lot of people, I mean, you can feel that too sometimes. Sometimes you can feel that something's not quite right. The way in which you're standing or sitting, something's not right. Even though we don't know what it is.
Like we definitely know some things just on an intuitive basis. Yeah.
That's why you need to call the expert in and then really confirm, right, what's going on. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I mean, we could talk about this forever. I mean, it's fascinating, right? And every individual is different. And I know you mentioned something which I thought was just so very generous of you, that you wanted to offer something to people if they wanted to reach out to you.
Yeah, for the first 5 people that reach out to me, they can find me on Instagram. And I have a link. And you can book a 20-minute consultation, and there's a place for you to leave your birth date. And so I can, when we do meet, I can let you know what your trigram is so that I can tell you your element, your best, most supportive colors, and your best directions also. And you can ask me any questions you might have about how Feng Shui might serve you.
Oh, that's wonderful. I thank you so much. That's so generous. I will definitely put all the information in the notes so people can contact you. And you said the first 5 people that contact you through Instagram.
Well, anyone can book a consultation, but I'll give the trigram.
Well, right. The trigram will get the first 5 that, on Instagram. So that'd be perfect. I mean, I thank you so much for coming on today. I so appreciate you talking to the audience about all of this wonderful information of Feng Shui. I mean, as I said, we can talk again about it. I mean, I know you can talk specifically just on one color or one direction, right? Or one element. I mean, it's so fascinating. Now, do you teach classes, courses? Do you have any of that going on?
I'm working on that. Yeah, I'm working on that. I'm in the process of designing a master class.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wonderful. Oh, please let me know when you do that. Maybe you can come on and we can talk about it. It'd be wonderful. And I'm sure a lot of people would be interested to find out about it. I think that once they hear, a little bit more about Feng Shui, they're definitely going to start asking questions and want to contact you.
Thank you so much, Marisa.
Oh, you're quite welcome, Teréz. It was lovely to speak with you, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Yes, you too.
Thank you. Bye now.